In 2001, NHL All-Star and former Boston Bruin Rick Middleton was living in Hampton, raising his kids and helping out with youth hockey. Then a friend called with an interesting offer.
Told me that they were looking for a coach for the national team because we were going to be the host team in Salt Lake City Paralympic next year, and would you be interested?
He was, even when that friend asked if he knew what sled hockey was.
I panicked because I thought if I said no, he'd say, oh, never mind. So I said, yeah. Do you know what sled hockey is? Yeah. Not a clue.
During a chat outside the Hampton post office, Rick tapped Seacoast entrepreneur Tom Moulton, who shared a passion for hockey, as his assistant coach.
How often does someone get asked to be involved in Olympics, Paralympics, to represent your country? And coaching is probably where my best suited to do that. And I said, yeah.
While the adaptive sport of sled hockey was new to them both, there was something else to consider: the team itself.
They were in a shambles, and now they were going to be the host team. That's the first things I heard. So I'm not. There's no visions of medals dancing in my head.
Rick and Tom took their first step up a steep learning curve.
Ran a normal warm-up like you would with able-bodied players. Blow the whistle, speed up, blow another whistle, go the other way, and then I blew the whistle and I yelled backwards. And they all stopped and looked at me. I'm like, oh no, they don't go backwards.
They entered a tournament scheduled for September 12th of 2001.
So I called the camp in Buffalo 3 weeks after 9/11, not knowing if anybody would fly, coming in from all over the country, and every guy showed up.
Amidst a national tragedy and facing impossible odds, Team USA hit the Olympic ice in Salt Lake City. First up, Japan.
And it's 0-0 going into the third period. I turned to Tommy, I said, if we don't win this, we're not going to win anything. We're not going to win a medal, not even a bronze. And we ended up winning 3-0.
It catapulted from there.
When we beat Canada 5-1, that was the moment that we believed.
Clawing past dismal expectations and winning their way into the gold medal game versus the juggernaut Norway squad. In a shootout, the Americans shocked the world.
When you're on that ice, that American flag is atop, and you knew you were part of it. I hear the national anthem today, and I go right back to that spot. It's beautiful. I wish everybody could feel that.
It may sound like one of the most magical Olympic gold medal winning stories never told until now.
Yes, we are champions.
The dramatic journey from worst to first is now hitting the big screen. The new documentary, Ice Gold, a decade in the making, premiering at the Portsmouth Music Hall.
We raised the bar in sled hockey, and we have over the past 2 years.
With two of the team's stars right there to see it.
Changed my life. Yes, we may inspire somebody because of the outcome, but foremost, we want to be treated like any other athlete fighting for a spot, fighting to accomplish something.
We're going to push you as hard as we can. You give us your best, and that's all we can ask for. And that, you felt like a person again.
Since that first Olympic gold in 2002, the USA sled hockey team has become a powerhouse with a bold belief that anything is possible. Even a movie about a team no one believed in that won it all.
Never in my wildest dreams as a little boy that I thought this would happen. But look where life takes you.
A bunch of disabled guys skating in circles. And then we became the best team in the world.
And while the goal was always to win, what has happened to adaptive sports since is every bit as golden.
It used to be people were making things sort of in their garage, out of necessity. And now there's actually an industry of developing adaptive equipment.
Nowhere is the concept of leveling the playing field more clear than at Northeast Passage, based at the University of New Hampshire, with 7 adaptive sports programs and a culture of inclusivity for every ability.
You can steer either with the handlebars, or if that requires too much muscle, you can steer with the joystick.
As for the future of USA sled hockey, it's solid. Northeast Passage with the U.S. Paralympics and UNH Athletics compete in the Northeast Sled Hockey League.
it's pretty cool the way things have sort of evolved in this sport to really make it highly competitive, really fast, very physical, and the athletes are amazing.
In 2022, the sled hockey team was inducted into the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Hall of Fame, and then in 2024, inducted into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. The true story of an impossible dream with the coaches, the right team, and the right grit to win.
The people of Salt Lake City really backed us. The press was, we were in the paper every day. We were the talk of the town for the week. And then since then, you know, you saw what has happened with 1 bronze and 5 golds in a row. So Tommy had the best line. He said, we were the spark that lit the fire.
A real sense of pride, sense of accomplishment. I hope I don't break down and cry, because it's very emotional for me. And I think at the end of the day, I'm going to feel good that we did the right thing.